Hello and welcome to Awakening Stories with myself, Joanne, and the beautiful Kerry from Galactic. Yay! And today we have the honour of talking to our beautiful brother, Neo. Starseed is in the house. Neo, we have, how long have we been, I don't even know how our meeting
probably, well, it was 2020, wasn't it?
was it?
Pretty sure it was. It's gone so fast, hasn't
it just flies by. So we did for the solstice, Neil did some music and Kerry did her beautiful artwork, and we put it all together. Was it solstice? It was the solstice, wasn't it? Last year?
Yeah.
The summer solstice. Time doesn't exist. So if you've watched this channel before, then you may very well recognize the lovely Neo. Neo's also part of our Patreon community, and we are inviting people on to share their awakening journey, because I think that the more that we share, we all have different experiences, right? We all have different paths that are leading to the same place, and the more people that kind of share their story, the more people can relate, and I think it really helps people along the way. So thank you very much, Neo, for being here, and I hope you know what you got yourself into.
well, that's what I'm here for, isn't it? That's what I'm supposed to be doing.
I'm only kidding. So we will just hand the baton over to yourself, brother.
All right. Well, buckle up. Well, back in 2020, I had a spontaneous Kundalini awakening as a result of C19. I'm just going to use that as code. So yeah, I mean, to start with, I believed all the stuff in the news and what have you. I was scared about it, but then I started to realise that things weren't quite what they were saying, and luckily enough, my parents were both awake, so they were both telling me, stop listening to what they'd say and get on with it, sort of thing. So that's kind of how my awakening started, and then obviously connecting with people online that were also awake to the corruption, at least anyway, started to sort of open up doors and took me down certain rabbit holes, and I got talking to somebody online called Matt, who I'm still friends with now, and he mentioned the word starseed, and didn't really give it much thought, but it was in the back of my mind, sort of thing. And then not long after, I saw somebody write something on Facebook about starseed as well. So I messaged him and said, "This is the second time I've seen this thing about starseeds. What is it?" And introduced himself. His name is Paul, and I'm still really good friends with him now. He's helped me a lot throughout this ascension. And so I got in touch with him, and we spoke on the phone, and he just opened up my mind completely to everything. Yeah, and I've had a lot of synchronicities around the name Paul as well. It's quite a common thing to pop up.
You're very big in synchronicities, don't you? Like, you're very good at spotting numbers, and you're just very good at seeing what the universe is confirming to you.
Yeah. So yeah, and so yeah, I was going down the rabbit holes, and I was thinking, I heard about I don't know if I can say the word, adreno.
Yeah.
Can I say that whole thing, or?
I don't know.
People know.
Yeah.
So then I started thinking, well, what's the connection with that and the pineal gland? And why is the pineal gland so important? And obviously that's the third eye, which I found out, and started looking into frequencies and how frequencies can heal and activate certain chakras like the third eye. And from there, I just really got into listening to those different frequencies. trying to think of what sort of order everything happened in, but
what's really interesting about that, Neil, is just because I know a little bit of your background, is that you know, it's kind of like a previous life, isn't it? Like you go through your awakening and you kind of look back and you don't really recognize, I can only speak for myself, but you know, I kind of look back and I don't really recognize the person that I used to be. You know, in fact, I you know, I have a laugh with my mum sometimes. She's like, I never know what Joanne I'm going to get. And I'm like, 20 people in the past month, you know? So it's a little bit like talking about, you know, a different version of ourselves. But you well, produced, wrote music, right? So prior to your awakening, so you were already working with frequencies, but maybe just not in an awakened conscious place. I always find that fascinating, because I really do. We're in training, you know, up until the point that we go through our awakening, and I think everything that we've experienced within the point up till that awakening has taught us and trained us for where we are now. So I always think that's fascinating.
Yeah, obviously back then I was still producing at 440 hertz because I didn't know anything about, you know, how that came about, the 440, 432 hertz scenario.
Let's go into that a little bit.
Yeah. I forget now if it's the Rothschilds or the Rockefellers that introduced it. But yeah, they just, like everything else, has been hijacked. They hijacked our music too and started getting people to produce music at 440 hertz instead of 432.
Roughly when did that come in? Was it the 50s? I can't remember.
I can't actually remember.
So at one point music was produced at 432, and just for anybody who doesn't know anything about hertz or frequency, what does it mean and what's the difference from your, just because anything that we say here is just our own personal experience, you know, there's no right, there's no wrong. So what does that mean to you? What is your understanding of it?
Well, 432 hertz is more of a natural frequency. If you look at cymatics, you can actually see visually, you can actually see the difference. So say, if you know what cymatics is, have a look for it. You might see it's like a metal plate that's got that vibrates at different frequencies, and they put like sand on it and stuff, and it shows you a pattern, and the pattern's like symmetrical, and it looks really amazing. You know, it's hard to believe that these frequencies can make these patterns. But there's actually a video I could probably post a link to actually. It compares 440 hertz to 432 hertz, and you can see quite clearly that at 440 hertz it's the same pattern, but it's distorted. It's not like clean and crisp. It's not distorted. So if you think like our bodies are made up of it's like 50 to 60% water, might be wrong percentage, but a lot of water anyway.
Yeah.
People could use these frequencies to affect water too. So if 440 hertz is going to the frequency that's going into water in our bodies, what's it doing to our bodies?
Yeah.
And it's very much like Emoto, who did the study on water, and the cymatics is quite similar, because he spoke to water, or put words on it of either, like, you know, a positive, you know, love or hate, and the under the microscope, you know, it was the same water from the same source, just there was different words like added to the water. And like, you know, cymatics,
Cymatics, I think,
the difference between the shapes. So all the nice positive, like love and happiness and joy, you know, they're all connected and curly, and you know, the ones like hate and, you know, fear are all disconnected and jaggy. So that ties in as well with the frequency thing, because words hold frequency, don't they? It's all connected.
But what's interesting with the patterns that are within the water, majority of the patterns are sacred geometry. That's why sacred geometry works with the frequencies, and that's why the summer solstice painting worked and helped activate people, because we had the the 432 hertz, who had the sacred geometry. So that helped awaken things within, I can't even think of the words, but things within people that connected into those, you know, those portals, those
Activates the cells, doesn't it? So what you're seeing in the water is happening within your body, and it's happening within the cells.
Yeah.
So cool.
It's
how it all ties together and how we all meet each other, you know, because we didn't know each other prior to this, you know. Kerry, we met maybe just prior to the change in the world.
Just prior to the change in the world, yeah. It was
the change in the world. So it's a beautiful thing how, you know, when your light turns on, I'm always like, you know, it's this light turn, and you put out this. It's a frequency, right? You're putting out 432 hertz to the universe, and you're sending out sacred geometry, and then the universe start answering back them signals with people that are in resonance, and that you can come together and work together to then help elevate, you know, others that are on the path. So
it's like saying that somebody says to you, we're just not on the same wavelength. Wavelength being frequency, you know. And once you're on the same frequency, you can come together and harmonize.
Exactly that. Beautiful, beautiful, isn't it?
It is how it works.
Anyway, sorry. So please, please carry on. Yeah.
So I started looking toward frequency music on YouTube, watching loads of different frequencies for different chakras, and also at this time I'm going down rabbit holes and looking at loads of stuff that obviously I had to see. So I'm trying to tell people around me that these things are going on, and they've been going on a long time, and no one wants to listen to me. They're all thinking I'm going crazy. Apart from people online that I could talk to that, you know, awakening too. And my parents, obviously, you know, I mean, they're awake to the spiritual side of things now. Before, it was obviously just the corruption, same as myself. So yeah, and obviously, well, I mean, I was married. That's obviously was supposed to happen, and we're now not married. That was also supposed to happen too. Everything for a reason.
I think that's very common, Neil, within you know, within the awakened or the awakening community, because, you know, I say it all the time, as your light grows and as you work on yourself, the person that you're with either has to, you know, step on board with that or step off, because you can't be in the same field, you know. So
yeah, so obviously I was doing things like stop using deodorant, shower gel, started brushing my teeth with salt, drinking salt water, distilled water.
Just salt.
Sorry?
Just salt. Brush your teeth with salt.
Yeah. I mean, before that, I used to have really sensitive teeth, and my gums used to bleed. So I used to use Sensodyne toothpaste and Corsadil like every day. And obviously, having awakening, realised all the chemicals that are in it. One of them being fluoride, of course.
Well, even in Corsadil, the fluoride that's in Corsadil is crazy. It's really high. Yeah.
So and then my friend Paul, who I'd been in contact with, he was saying that he had a similar thing, no coincidences, and he used salt. So I started using it, and before long, no more problems. As far as I'm concerned, I went to a dentist again. So
wow. So just like normal salt, Himalayan
fine
salt,
fine pink Himalayan salt.
Okay.
Wet it, dip it in, and then
Takes some getting used to, but
I bet it does.
It's a lot better than going back to toothpaste. So
okay,
fascinating.
Yeah, that's really
We're gonna do another video about a little bit about Himalayan salt and water and things a little bit later on, because I find that fascinating. You've certainly from talking to you, Neil, you changed a lot of things in your life very quickly, right? For me, I've had more of like a progression. I suppose I had maybe a little bit more time than other people, up to the point where the world changed, right? I'd space to kind of digest the information that I was getting. I'd get information, I'd space to digest it. But, you know, you yourself, it was there, and it was, I need to deal with this, and I need to change things very, very quickly. So you've obtained all this knowledge, information, but put it into practice like very, very quickly. And I really honor you for that, because it's, you know, I found it hard with the amount of length of time that I had to digest all this information. When that happens so quickly, like, it's really hard to kind of keep your shit together. Let's be honest, you know, it's, so hats off to you. Hats off to you, Neil.
Yeah, where was I? Yeah, the salt, yeah. Frequencies.
Frequencies, yeah. So we're talking about your ex-wife and how, you know, you were changing things very quickly.
Yeah, so obviously it wasn't just her that probably thought I was going crazy, but also people that I used to work with. I walked out my job in May in last year. And
a lot of really ballsy decisions. So
yeah.
Well, yeah, it's it just had to happen. Yeah, anyway, so
that's a really good thing for people watching, because a lot of people go through this and they go, oh, but I can't give that up, or I couldn't possibly walk out my job, or I, like, you took this like by the balls, so to speak. The spiritual balls, I don't know, sound like balls, I don't know. And you just went, right, okay, like the relationship, it's not working, you know, that needs to go.
Well,
the job needs to
it was
go.
a mutual decision.
But even just approaching that is what I'm saying, and it was in such a small space of time. You know, there are people that are.
Well, it didn't happen straight away. Yeah, it was last year when it ended. But yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean it like that. I just meant that I speak to a lot of people, and I get a lot of emails, and I get a lot of messages, and people are in this place where they feel stuck, you know, because they're in a relationship that they know, you know, it just isn't working for either part. It's not about you. It's if it's not going to work for you, it's not going to work for both of you. You know, you've done it from a very heart-led, compassionate place. It's not about like, well, I'm doing this for me. You're because you see the bigger picture. You're doing it for everyone, regardless of the impact that it's going to have in you, because it's actually harder on the person that brings that up, because it's easy for people to then point fingers. Do you know what I mean? We can become very, very targeted.
I mean, to be fair, it was my wife that first brought it up.
Oh, was it?
It wasn't working, yeah. And I was scared. Although part of me knew that what she was saying was right. I didn't want to admit it to start with. And obviously we've got a daughter together, so you know, it's hard to let go of everything. But yeah, as things progressed, I kind of started getting pushed to, you know, bringing it up again myself, and yeah, then it happened. But yeah, I know it's all supposed to happen. Everything prior to that happens now, like where I am now. Yeah. So yeah, really, I started getting to the frequencies anyway, and one night I ended up actually, no, just before this, I lost my appetite completely. I didn't want to eat, and it's like all my senses had been heightened. So things like washing detergents and like chemicals around the house and stuff just made me feel sick. I felt disgusting. I went to a parent's house like one night for something to eat, and I didn't feel hungry to start with, and I thought, well, once food's on the table, I'll probably feel like eating it. And it was like roast dinner with chicken, and the smell of the chicken was just putrid. I couldn't do it. I couldn't stomach it. So I didn't eat, and which I wasn't really, I don't know, I just thought I must be ill or something, you know. So yeah, I didn't eat. And then I ended up, because like back in 2020 when we were all in lockdown and stuff, I ended up building what I thought was going to be a pub in my back garden. Back when I used to drink. I don't drink anymore either. What ended up being a place for me to go and meditate and just have some time to talk to people online about stuff and not be having people looking over my shoulder and stuff, you know. So yeah, I spent the same night. I was in there, and some mad stuff was going on. At one point, I felt like I was just stood there, and I felt this like energy coming to me. I felt like really like just like powerful energy, like sourcing through my whole body, like surging through my whole body. I don't know what that was. I felt like I was in a completely different dimension. My ex kept coming down to see me, to like speak to me. I was like, it's like she was there, but she wasn't there. I don't even know the best way to explain it, to be honest.
It's very hard to explain energetic things because there's not really, you know, English words to put on these things. You're doing great.
I also felt like there was something, imagine like a rope or something attached to your stomach inside, anchoring you to the floor. So when I tried to walk away from certain spots, I couldn't move. Something kept pulling me back, like elastic band. Like I had to be in this certain spot at this time for this, whatever was going to happen. Moving on from that, eventually I went back.
Were you
afraid?
How did you feel in that moment? Were you accepting of it, or were you like
a bit of both?
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, like I don't know what time it was, but later on I ended up going back into the house, and reluctantly, because I didn't want to smell all the smells and all that stuff. I went to bed, and then I got up, went and got on the sofa downstairs and got YouTube on, and just kept putting on those different frequencies. So I was sort of laying there meditating without even knowing I was meditating, because I'd never meditated before. Listening to all these different frequencies, and it was obviously activating something in me, although I didn't really know what.
And do you feel this was just something you were guided to do? Like, was it like,
yeah,
like an inner pull to this frequency, that frequency, that frequency? Because just what I'm getting as you're talking is, it was like each of your chakras was being activated in a very specific sequence. That's just kind of what I'm hearing. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was all new to all this as well. I mean, before this, I was quite a militant atheist, and so anything that was out of the ordinary, I was like, nah, it's all rubbish, you know. And in fact, I even got an atheist tattoo on my wrist.
Yeah, that's a reminder. I love
that. So then, obviously, my wife was concerned, wondering what's going on. I couldn't really explain it, and I just sort of pretended everything was, you know, fine, normal. I was supposed to go to work that day. She always left the house before me, so she just expected me to go to work as normal. But that day I just decided, no, I'm not going to go to work. I'm going to go for a walk. So I went out, I closed the door, I didn't lock the door because I just knew it'd be fine. I was going to go in the house. Walked up to a local village. It's summertime, so a nice sunny day. And I've been to this village a few times before this, in recent times before this, and where I went to, there was an apple tree at the side of the road, and I know every time I've walked past it, it's been like fallen apples on the floor, and there's been swarms of wasps around, and I've always hated wasps. So, and I walked towards where these apples were, and usually I would just walk on the outside and avoid all the wasps. But for whatever reason, I just thought, no, I'm not going to do that today. I just walked straight through, and I had my head down watching as I did it. Walked, and usually if you disturb wasps, that's it, they're all flying around you, aren't they? There must have been probably like 10 wasps or something there. As I walked through, the wasps stayed there. They didn't even flinch. It's like I wasn't even there. which to me was like, what? Yeah, have they just got drunk off the cider apples or something? Yeah. So yeah, but I carried on going, and then a bit after this, I got down to a river, and there was some flowers. I remember it really stood out to me. There was a bee and a butterfly on this flower, on these flowers. So I went up close to them, and there must have been, I don't know, like that far away from my nose, like an inch away from my nose, and they didn't even move. Again, it's like I wasn't even there. Some more stuff happened after that, just around that point, which I'm not going to go into because it's a bit mad. Well, even more mad than what I'm talking about right now. So,
nothing's mad here.
No.
well, yeah.
You're in good company.
I ended up going back the opposite way to where I walked before, which was into town, and there's a park in town where I ended up sitting next to a bin, taking my shoes and socks off, chucking them in the bin. Don't know why. They were pretty new trainers and expensive, and I was a bit pissed off about that, to be fair, but I did it anyway.
That's brave.
I don't know why I was doing these things. I ain't got a clue. But, so yeah, I carried on walking, and I actually remember at this point a man walked past. He had Down syndrome, and he was listening to music on his headphones, and he just looked up at me, and he was just like, you could just see he was just so happy, like I could like feel his like aura. He was even actually glowing, and I just remember like smiling at him and saying hello, you know, and that was a pretty mad experience, just that in itself. And then I carried on walking, and there's a river nearby, so I started walking up the river. There's quite a few people around. I'm thinking, I'm walking around with no shoes and socks on. Yeah. And then I thought, at one point, I felt like, I had my head down, I felt like somebody was coming towards me who were new. And if they saw me walking around with no shoes and socks on, they're going to think, what's he doing? Like, you know, go and tell people who I know and cause a load of shit and stuff, you know. So I didn't think anything else to it. I just got myself out of the way. And this person, whoever it was, walked past me. Then I walked up onto this like football field, and I'm walking along, and I looked over to my right, and in the distance I saw this person walking along the side. So it's like I had known that he was going to walk past me. I got myself out of the way so that he couldn't see me, which again blew my mind.
Yeah.
Carried on walking. Feet were really starting to hurt by now. It's got into like a country road, and there was a church and some trees outside, and something just made me go and sit next to one of these trees. So I sat on the floor, with my feet on the floor as well, so my knees up, closed my eyes and just did like slow controlled breathing, and I could feel it's like everything else around me just disappeared. Like before there was cars and stuff, and I could hear different things, you know, like birds singing and stuff. It all disappeared, and I could feel like a whirlwind of energy going around me, and like leaves, like it was windy, you know. Before this, it was perfectly still, hot summer's day, and I just felt like I was getting like some sort of energy from the tree. And so without me even thinking about it, I put my hands up against the tree afterwards and sort of give it like a jolt of energy back just to say thank you. Again, I don't know why I was doing this. So from there, I carried on going. Ended up in a field. And, you know, like this, the sound of grasshoppers in the summertime in the fields, really loud, isn't it?
Yeah.
Again, I sat there, found myself sitting there, cross-legged this time. Well, actually, I kept going to different positions. So cross-legged, knees up, hands in front of me, behind me. Again, I don't know why I was doing it. And then I sat there, did the breathing again, got the the feeling of the energy going around me again. And then as I breathed in, every single grasshopper in the field made that noise. When I stopped and breathed out, they stopped too. In again.
So cool.
Out again. It carried on going for a while. And I just felt so, it was like I was in bliss. It was just the most amazing experience. So I think because of these nice experiences that I'd had, that is what pushed me to keep going. I got like that buzz for it, if you excuse the pun. And I think that's why, I mean, obviously there's other reasons why, but that's why at that point why I kept going. Yeah, I mean, I walked for a long, I don't even know how far exactly. I walked a long way. My feet were really starting to get cut to shreds and painful and stuff. And I ended up in this village where there was a house. I ended up going to this house. Well, I mean, as I got there, it was dark by this time. It was probably like 10 o'clock or something.
You've been walking all day. This has
Yeah,
been like a whole day experience. Wow.
So I'm getting phone calls from my ex saying, like, where are you? What's going on? And I'm answering the phone like I'm perfectly fine. Nothing going, you know, I'm fine, I'll be back home soon. Because in my head, I thought I was on my way home for some reason. And the place where I was, I won't mention the names of the places, but they had very, very similar sound. Some part of the name was similar, which is also another coincidence, if you want to call it a coincidence. I walked up this road, which again was very much like a road that's in this other town, this other village, should I say. I ended up at this house, and in my head as well, I thought it was someone who I knew who lived at this house, even though I'd never been there before. And I was knocking on the door, nobody answered. And then I went around to the other door, and there was like a bell that you could ring. And it was the exact same bell that I'd put in my pub that I used as like a last orders bell. It was the exact same one, which obviously means I was supposed to be there, you know. I then walked back out of there. My dad, I'll be on the phone to my dad, I think, as well at this point, or I'm not sure. But anyway, somebody was coming out to try and pick me up because I thought I knew where I was. So I stood at this gate in the street. Well, it's like a village, like a country road. So there's all fields around me mainly. And in my mind, I was having this battle against like these like weird creatures. It was weird. It's like I was this big like alien creature thing, and there were all these like minions around me, and I was like shouting and screaming at them, saying like, "We've won and you've lost, and you're all gonna die." And it was really loud as well. I didn't think I was capable of making these sounds. It's like really, really loud. And
Were you seeing this going on round about you, or was this just like
in my mind?
In your mind, yeah.
Then I looked around, and I sensed that there was something in some sort of energy, bad energy in these bushes that went down the side of the road. And I was sort of watching, turning my head, locking, like saying, "Yeah, go on, you can go, you can piss off now." And just as I got to the end of my head, was like looking straight forwards as this thing had gone down the road. This light came on at the end of the road, a really bright light, which kind of snapped me out of all this. So I started walking towards it, but I couldn't see what it was. And then it turns out it was a man, and he asked if I was okay. Because of what had just happened, I thought that whatever that thing I just witnessed was going down the road was in him, or was him. And in my mind, I was thinking this man's a paedophile. So I punched him. never punched anyone in my life before. Didn't think I was capable of doing that, and I've still got a fracture of my knuckle. It's a bit deformed. It's a bit of a scuffle, as you can imagine. And then afterwards, it's like everything just hit me. I was like, what? I managed to get away from him, sort of thing. And I got into this field, and I was just thinking, what the hell have I done? And it was just like, so this whole time I felt like something was telling me to do these things, you know. Yeah. And so I'm thinking, am I going schizophrenic or something, or you know? Yeah. And I mean, I know now this isn't the case, but so obviously I'm scared. You know, it's dark. I'm getting phone calls, people worried about me. Police are involved. There was a police helicopter. I managed to get into some bushes and hide. There's a police helicopter above me, looking for me. So I spent the whole night in some bushes, basically. The next day, I remember there's a few things happened, but I remember I was sat there. It was a nice sunny day again, and by this time I only had a pair of jeans on, I didn't have a t-shirt on, my shoes and socks obviously had gone. I was sat there and I wasn't looking, you know, you close your eyes and you can see it's bright because the sun's out. So I wasn't looking exactly wasn't looking at the sun, but away from it with my eyes closed. And I saw this light appear. I could see like these sparkles of energy like coming into my eyes, like it was like trying to heal me or something. That's the only way I can explain what I think it is. I'm just going to go back a little bit because there's something I missed, and that was when it was like that night. It was a full blood moon, and I think that was used. I think that was an instrument used to manipulate me, because I also received a few phone calls with a withheld number, and when I answered the phone, it was like somebody talking really fast, too fast to understand what they were saying. But I felt like all this information was going into my head, and it was like I felt like it was telling me to do something. And it was quite a while after this had happened. A film came up for me to watch, and I watched this film. I think it was called Spell, and they used the blood moon in that to cast spells on people. Okay. But anyway, I'm going to go back to that morning after what had happened. So I sat there for a bit, and before long, some police arrived, and I think it was probably about 4 of them. I think, I'm not really sure. And they were really nice to me. They didn't arrest me. They just sort of took me out of the field and got me in an ambulance. They did put handcuffs on me because as soon as they said they're going to put me in an ambulance, and I started flipping out, and you know. So anyway, yeah, put in an ambulance, went to hospital, where they failed to look after my hand. So that opened my eyes to how shit hospitals are, for a start. And then from there, I didn't really know where I was going. They took me to, right near it, there's a mental health clinic. And I ended up spending 3 weeks in there. But while I was in there, my eyes were open to how shit it is in there for people, and why they shouldn't be in there, and how they're having medication chucked down the neck that's shutting them off, shutting them down. They tried to get me to do it, and I made them think I was taking it. Yeah, so obviously, but I mean, to start with, I was scared again, because I was thinking, like, you know, what's happening? You know, I really thought I'd lost it, and but then I started being able to figure stuff out again, and I just wanted to get back home, you know, and so yeah, and they when I was in there, they couldn't understand how I'd managed to turn myself around so quick. They didn't really get it. I had to play it cool and say, you know, I've been saying stuff about aliens and stuff before this, and so I had to sort of say, oh, I don't know about, maybe there is such a thing, I don't know. I mean, I still don't know now, to be fair, but 100%, but it's a possibility, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, yeah, anyway, long story short, from that, I did actually obviously manage to get back home. Things were never the same again, obviously. Everyone I worked with, or maybe one, maybe two people, thought I was mad. My friends, obviously, there's only a couple that still wanted to know me, sort of thing. And then I started connecting with more people online, and I realised what had happened through research and stuff was a spontaneous Kundalini awakening. And a lot of people actually go looking to try and do this, and I didn't even know what it was. It just happened. Obviously, some amazing things happened, but some not so amazing things happened too. Synchronicities led me to find out that what happened was actually a demonic attachment or something to that description. And I mean, should I get on? I suppose now I could get on to the point where
it's certainly what I feel was, and thank you so much for sharing that, because that is, you know, you're taking your soul out, you know, for all to see. So that you know, thank you. That takes a lot. There's so much in that, Neil, because certainly I was seeing in my third eye as you were talking about it. So I was like seeing your experiences, and there was a few things that I would like to touch on if that's okay with you. So I think that what was happening was your realities, you know, we have all these different realities within the same space that we are in, but because we are so conditioned and, you know, we're put to sleep and all the rest of it, we only believe we function in the one. And certainly what I was seeing was there was all these, you were tuning into different realities. I think you had a past life in that place that you ended up, the very last one. I think you were collecting a part of your soul actually in that space. I think also what happened was because you were completely laid bare, you know, you were like stripped down to your bare soul, I suppose, is kind of what it felt like, was that it made you so vulnerable. And it's really, you know, to that kind of attack and to that kind of attachment. And it's very interesting, isn't it? Because how many people have had a spontaneous Kundalini awakening, but believe that they had a nervous breakdown?
I'll say, yeah. And it makes you think like all these people that they're in these mental health clinics with what they think is schizophrenia. It's actually something very different, and they're being treated for it, obviously wrongly.
I was admitted, in fact, I found my diary just the other day. I called it psychiatric wellies. I don't know, but I found my diary, I typed up, and it was like in a Word document. It was like 2000 and, I can't remember, very long time ago anyway. I'd actually admitted myself because of my bipolar. And I spent 2 weeks in a ward, and it's like eye-opening, the stuff that you see and that you witness. And I wasn't, you know, I was spiritual at the time, but I wouldn't say that I was spiritually awake at the time. And reading back through that diary the other day, I was like, oh, I could understand, you know, all the people that I was surrounded with. I could understand like energetically what was going on with them, you know. So I think there's a lot of us that have had this experience, you know, not the same experience, but there's a lot of us, because there's this very fine line, isn't there? Because if you don't conform and you're having an experience that's external to what you're supposed to have, then it's a mental illness. And I'm not saying that mental illness doesn't exist, and I'm not saying that there isn't a place for it, right? Because in a 3D construct, if somebody doesn't have the support or somebody to help them understand what is energetically or spiritually going on, then they do need help, you know, and that just comes in the form that it comes in. So again, there's no right and there's no wrong, but I totally get, Neil, from that place that, you know, when you've been there and you've experienced that, you can totally see all the different perspectives of it. Scary stuff, you know, scary stuff at the time. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was like synchronicities that led me to figure out that it was just attachment. And then a while afterwards is when I started watching your stuff on YouTube. I ended up talking to you through YouTube and doing your artwork and stuff, just because I felt that I should do that. And obviously that's how we made that connection. And then you confirmed that it was an attachment. And even at this point, I was still dubious as to if it was, you know. But then when you did the removal, I actually felt it being taken away from me. That just confirmed everything. And yeah, so obviously I'm very grateful.
Well, I'm grateful that you shared that and I could help you along the way. You know, I believe that we contract prior to coming in here. You know, we've all this, even this meeting here, you know, just now in this conversation has all been pre-planned by.
I know how to go through what I went through, so I could be able to talk about it to help people come through it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's exactly it. And a very brave and honourable thing to do.
Well, it's just happening, isn't it? It's just that I can't take credit for it. It's just what the universe is doing, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think also the man, Neil, it's again, we live in this society where there are certain stereotypes and there's, you know, I think that when it comes to, you know, spirituality can also be seen as, you know, quite a feminine, airy fairy thing, and men can be, I'm not saying they are, I'm just, you know, stereotypes can be very conditioned to not talk about their feelings and to not speak about these things and be very deep, and they have to work out themselves. So even, you know, hitting up for the, you know, the divine masculines in the house, I think it's really important. It's really nice to have somebody on here from the divine masculine that's stepping up and sharing their story.
Yeah, well, everything for a reason, isn't it? Yeah, so from there, yeah, and I started to see a lot of synchronicities, like amazing synchronicities, and there's that many. I'm not going to mention them all, but a lot of the ones I had as well, I was trying to tell people, and just like, nah, just coincidence, but it was just way too powerful to be just a coincidence. So I started getting into synchronicities and started seeing these numbers, like starts off just angel numbers like 111, 222. But I noticed that this time I kept seeing the number 8. And the only connection I made to that really was like my day of birth is 18th and year is 83. And then I was on the phone with somebody who I met, I got talking to online through a Discord group who Paul introduced me to, and her name's Julie. And while I was talking to her, I was telling her about how I kept seeing these number 8s everywhere. And as I was talking to her on the phone, I looked out the window and I saw a number 8 in the clouds. So if I can just share this, it's going to work. So I think you should be able to work that out. It's a little 8 there.
Very clear, isn't it?
And yeah, so that was just like obviously mind blowing in itself. So then, like, I think it's like a day or two later, I thought I'm going to go for a walk. I walked to the same village I'd walked to when this thing had happened. I think probably the first time since it happened, actually. So I was a bit sort of, should I go there or not? But I mean, that's where some of the good stuff happened, like the wasps and the bee and the butterfly thing. Got so far into the village and I thought to myself, should I keep going down this road? And I thought I'd just look around for a sign, see if something happens. and a bird flew down the road. So I thought, I'll take that as a sign. So I followed where the bird went. Got to a point where I could go to the right or keep going. So I stopped again and thought, I could do another sign. And another bird appeared, flew down the road. So I carried on going. And then as I was walking, I saw all these birds kept flying down the road. Got to a certain point, it was a big tree. Stopped at the tree and looked up, and there was a big buzzard in the tree. And I thought, oh, that's amazing to see a buzzard there. So I looked at that for a while, carried on walking. And I stopped and I thought, you know what, it's time to go back now. But before I go back, I'm going to take some photos, because obviously I'd taken the photo of the 8. I'll take some photos of the sky to see if I get anything. But it was sunny again, so I couldn't really make out what I was taking a photo of until I got back home. So I got back home, and when I looked at my photos, I found this. So it looks to me like a big bird in the sky. So you got the head, wings there, and a couple of feet there. Some people said it looks like a phoenix.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things obviously that it was just proving to me that the world isn't what we've been told it is, basically. And that's been proven over and over again with a lot of things that have happened, and one being meeting my twin flame. I mean, does somebody want to talk about what twin flames are? Or?
Oh, twin flamies.
Somebody else want to talk about twin flames before I do? Or?
It's not really my experience, so I wouldn't like to talk too much about that.
Well, the idea of twin flame is that when soul incarnates, it splits, and at some point, maybe not on this planet, your souls can meet, and you're there to teach each other lessons and learn, you know, to help yourself come through your ascension.
Yeah.
As my marriage was coming to an end, I it's exactly the same sort of time. I was online, started talking to somebody on the Discord group I was in, and we really hit it off. You know, we got so many things in common, but it was just like ridiculous things in common, and those of synchronicities started happening. Long story short, with that, when we finally met, we were both the same height, both the same weight, hands the same size, feet the same size, similar sort of nose features, even our tattoos, like similar shaped tattoos, even though it's not the same tattoo, it's similar. And she actually, at one point, and obviously talking about the 144,000 light workers stuff, we kept having 144 being a synchronicity too, and she lived 144 miles away, or lives 144 miles away still, obviously. And I once weighed myself, and it was, well, I'll just share the picture, and she sent back a picture too. So that's what we weighed.
Wow. That's amazing. That's so cool. Oh.
Yeah, and yeah, so since
You
then,
can't make it up, can you?
exactly, and it's just every day just confirms it. It's just synchronicity after synchronicity, and we've had some amazing times together.
Oh, that's beautiful. Lovely.
But,
So, from where, if you were to look back at where you are prior to this Kundalini awakening happening, and then all the stuff in between that isn't the pleasantest, you know, of experiences, to where you are now, was it worth it?
oh, definitely. Yeah, I'd rather be wide awake than fast asleep, that's for sure.
Yeah.
It's beautiful, and I think, you know, I speak to people within, you know, the awakened community, I kind of like to call it, and stories are all different, but you know, there's one thing that resides, and it's pain. You know, pain wakes us up, you know. There's some kind of suffering or some kind of trauma, or you know, your experience in itself, although you had moments of absolute bliss, the 3D reality of that is hard, you know, is traumatic. You know, I even think that,
yeah,
you
when
know,
you realize your whole life's been a lie.
I mean, it's so hard, isn't it? And but I think that when people share their stories and you can hear where they were, you know, what they had to go through to get to where they are, you know, I wouldn't change a thing. Would you, Kerry?
No, I wouldn't change a thing. I wouldn't change a thing. Like, I was thinking about things last night. And it's like what you said, when you get on this boat, you're on this boat. You can't get off this boat. And you have to go along this journey no matter how hard it gets. And the more that you go through, and the more traumas and the healing, and it's all integrations, it's all upgrades, and it proves to you and your soul that you are the warrior that you came here to be. And everything that we go through is basically, like you said, the training, the point to where we need to be at this moment in time. And, you know, when you look at everything and you look at your whole life, you begin to see everything for what it actually is, like you, Neil, if you know what I mean. You began to see everything for what it is, and why you're here, and your purpose here, and, you know, and you've came through all of that, and you're now at this point where you wouldn't change it, and it's beautiful within itself. And, you know, you're just a beautiful soul, and you agreed to be here, and you agreed to be here with Jess, and it's just, you know, it's touched my heart today. It's really touched my heart today.
Something that I didn't say as well, obviously I said that my birth day is 18. I kept saying number 8. Well, just prior to us meeting, well, a few years before this, she actually weighed 18 stone. And she lost 8 stone, which then brought her down to the same weight, exact same weight as me. To me, when we met, we were the same weight.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So,
8 is infinity, right? Yeah. It's like you're both at each side of the, you know, the twin flame is like each side of the 8, you know, and that together makes infinity. It's very cool.
Can I say something? There's something about the number 8, because I've been talking about this as well, because I was born on the 26th of August, so 26 is 8 plus the 8th month. In 83, I lived at number 8 when I was younger. Then I moved to 80, and then I moved to, in later years, 8A, and then I currently live in 88. I was given a hotel room in January, and it was 118. Everything's 8. I lived in 116, so that's like an even 104. My daughter's the 8th of January. My partner's the 8th of April. My daughter's the 4th. If you know, it's just like, what is it with this 8? And then this I've got a totem animal. It's another story for another day. It's a spider. It has 8 legs. So like, what is it with number 8? So when you were talking about number 8 there, I was like, oh yes, number 8. Keep going. Tell me more. Because there's something about number 8. And
yeah, I walked out the house the other day, went to the shop, and as I got onto the main road, a car went past with 888 on the number plate.
8's everywhere. It's fascinating. But like Joanne said, it's the infinity.
Related to your tribe?
Really?
Do you think it's related to your tribe? Like your soul group? I'm just getting that, you know, certain numbers are related to certain soul groups.
There's also names. I mean, the amount of Pauls that have been in my life since, like, just before this and during this.
Oh, I'm surrounded by Peters.
Right.
My
Okay.
dad's Peter, my partner's Peter, my grandfather was Peter, everybody's Peter.
It's like that that thing, isn't it? The two little dicky birds sitting on the wall, one named Peter, one named Paul. And yeah, and like my initial was, obviously I'm not near Starseed, or B and J.
Spoil the illusion, just burst the bubble there.
Yes, B and a J. So that's B and a J. My parents, my dad is a B, my mum's a J. My sister, she's a J. I'm now in touch with obviously Joanne, J. Julie, who I was talking to about number 8 on the phone when I saw number 8 in the sky. Yeah, there's just so many things.
Yeah.
I think, you know, people say to me, oh, you know, I never see anything, or nothing ever happens to me, or, you know, I never get anything. And it does. It's just that I think people have certain expectations of how something is going to look or be. And when you are just open to receiving information, that information can come to you in any way. And as soon as you acknowledge it, so you've acknowledged the number 8, right?
Yeah.
So as soon as you acknowledge it, you're going to be shown the number 8, because they're like, right, he's getting that. So
Yeah.
the more they're you know, you're going to be shown it. So I think that's a very important thing for anybody watching this as well, that's maybe like, oh, I don't get anything, and you know, that stuff like that never happens to me. You know, just watch what you wish for, is all I'm going to say.
Yeah, well, I mean,
exactly.
We've got time to talk about another synchronicity, or?
Yeah, go for it.
So recently I was over to CGS for a while, and we went for a walk, and we saw this van with the name Thomas on it on the side, and I thought, I don't know why, I just thought it was significant. And then I saw another one afterwards. I thought, yeah, okay, definitely significant. And then I saw another one after that. So yeah, right, okay. And I said to Jess, I think it's, I don't know why, but I thought that it was Paul I was talking about earlier. I thought that's what his son was called. So I just sort of kept this in my back of mind. Then we went for a walk somewhere else, and we stopped. There was somebody walking the dog, so we stopped to stroke the dog, say hello. And the dog was called Sky. Somebody who Paul used to live with had a dog called Sky. We then went to go and cross the road, and we stopped at the side, and a 3-wheeler went past, like it's done up to look like the one off Only Fools and Horses, exactly the same. Just as that went past, a car went past, on the reg it said Dell. And then we got in the car, drove past a street called Bennett's Lane. Bennett was the surname of the person that owned the dog that used to live with Paul. So I contacted him and told him about these synchronicities, and he said, well, my son's not called Thomas, but my dad is. He said that the person he used to live with, that the dog called Sky, had once given him a model of the 3-wheeler from Only Fools and Horses.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's so...
I think, you know, the universe just shows you're exactly where you need to be. You know, there is no doubt of where you are. You're on the right path. You're where you need to be. You know, keep going.
That's it, exactly, yeah.
Absolutely beautiful.
Don't give up.
Beautiful. Neil, thank you so much for coming on today and sharing your story. I do want to say that Neil makes some absolutely beautiful, in fact, it's the only meditation music I listen to now, because I know where it comes from, and I know who makes it, and I know the energy that's behind it. It's just how I roll. You also do some banging tunes as well. I mean, it's not just a little bit of drum and bass last night. I was like, yeah, it did get a little bit heavy for me though, because I was trying to do
dark, that stuff, isn't it? It's from 2006 though. It's pre-awakening.
I used to be a dancer for a drum and bass group in Aberdeen.
Right.
Yes, yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I've been on MTV and everything. Yeah.
Where's that clip?
Eh?
We need to find that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I'll be somewhere. It's got to be somewhere in the interweb.
Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, it'll be on the interweb somewhere. I'll find it. I'll find it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That would be so cool.
That's my wild days. I'm more angelic now, maybe.
We have to have them though. You know, I'm an old raver myself, and you know, I love all the tunes that you put up, all the old, you know, happy hardcore stuff. That I was in my element there, and you change it to 432 hertz, so you're listening to it at the frequency that is resonating with your heart. You know, it's music like that really uplifts me, you know, when I'm bouncing about my house. There's you know, frequency music. You think about, you know, there's certain songs that you listen to and it'll take you right back to where you were, you know, right at that time. So what we'll do is we'll link Neo's YouTube channel down in the, I'm going to figure that out. I'll link it in the bit down below in the comment section. I'll highlight it or something so that you can find it. Pop over, give our brother some support.
Yeah.
And also, honestly, the meditation music is just absolutely beautiful, and all different frequencies you're working with as well, aren't you, Neo?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've added singing bowls now to the music too. And I'll just quickly tell another synchronicity around that. So I went to this same village again, actually, to record my first video with those singing bowls. And I had an idea of where I wanted to go. And as I was coming up to the point where I would normally turn right to go there, I thought to myself, should I go this way? Because I could go the other way, could go left, but should I go right? And so I stopped, and there was a bus, and on the side of the bus it said travel right, but it was spelled WRIGHT, but still travel right. So that's where I had to go.
Go right then.
And I did, and it was a really nice spot, and the sun was shining, and I was sat next to a tree with a mask on, and somebody walked past with a mask on too, but it's a different kind of mask. And
you knew a Starseed mask on?
Obviously they're looking at me thinking, what's he doing, weirdo? And I'm thinking, why are you wearing that?
I love that. That's brilliant. Right up my street. There's something about you in that village. Yeah. Definitely some kind of, I don't know, past life as a ruler of that area somehow, king or something.
Whilst Neo's been talking, there's been someone in my peripheral looking over my couch, because I'm behind my couch just now, looking over my couch, looking in, and I keep catching them. Don't know who it is, but there's someone, whilst you've been talking, Neo's been looking over. So if you see me, that's why. I don't know who it is, but there's someone. I don't know.
Well, if you find out, let me know.
Yeah, I'll tune in and try and find out.
Cool.
So cool.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on, and I needed to get this off my chest, so it's going to help me to heal, and
and that's what it's all about. We're doing this all together, right? You know, and if you can do it in a safe space, it's also going to help others. You know, that's the timeline that we're on now. Happy new timeline, everyone, by the way. That's the timeline that we're on now, right? It's a coming together timeline. Enough of this, you know, this separation. Now it's time to, and I'm just getting goosebumps while I'm saying that. Now it's time to come together and unite to help each other heal together, you know, and instead of being separate and having to fight our own battles and, you know, going through this, you know, a lot of people go through their spiritual awakening alone. And of course, if that's the way it's meant to be, that's the way it's meant to be. But now there's so many of us that can come together and share these things to help heal the all. So thank both of you so much for being here and sharing this space. And thank you everybody also that's watching this, because we're all our combined energies help shift this. You know, they help shift this. They help work on that insanity thing. You know, we're helping to heal that. You know, you're not crazy, actually.
Been there,
We are just in a different world. Sorry, Neil.
been there and got the t-shirt.
Yeah, and the cap and the badge.
And the boots and underwear.
Yay! Okay, you have to. Nice hoodie, by the way, Kerry.
Thank you. I'm actually going to I'm thinking about making Grogu pants. So, yeah.
Grogu pants.
Actually, I nearly wore my Boris Johnson is a twat t-shirt today, but everyone knows it, so it's a bit pointless, really. Isn't it?
all this like awakened clothing as well, you know. It's awesome.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
You guys rock. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you for sharing your story, Neil. Kerry, thank you for being here as well. Beautiful. And all of you beautiful people in the community watching as well, I hope